All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the Crypto Junkie channel. Welcome to the stream. This is Jay. I'm super excited tonight because we have with us George Wentz from the Mad Energy Project. So we're going to dive into probably quite a bit. I want to talk about energy, alternative energy, this whole carbon footprint and carbon credit system that is essentially getting rolled out upon us. I want to talk about Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk, and then give you guys an opportunity to ask questions as well. So let me kind of scoot back here. If you guys like my background, this is my 15th house that we're sitting in right now, aka the fake background that they provide on StreamYard. So think of this like this: like you got George, who's a very busy guy, into an elevator, and you got like 5 minutes with him. What's the one question you would ask him? What's the one thing that you would want to talk to him about? Whether it's related to, the Mad Energy Project, which we'll talk about. That's what he's involved in. He's, I guess I would consider him a big player in that. And I don't know how he'd consider himself because I know that they've got a different company structure. But yeah, like what's the one question that you'd want to ask him? And so I think how we'll kind of do this is, we will probably grab really great questions as we go along. So maybe a little bit different of an interview style than maybe what you're used to. But yes, feel free to jump in. Thank you to everyone that's jumping over here. I know that Kinetics was just live. It looks like everyone's kind of jumping in. So all right, let me bring on George now. Let's bring him in. George, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jay. Man, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So I'm excited. I'm excited for many different reasons. And we were talking kind of behind the scenes just a couple minutes ago. Is like there's a lot of big changes that need to occur. There's a lot of big stuff that's happening right now, right? And while I think a lot of people can get kind of lost in the weeds of the political stuff, and I think that's a much simpler solution and an answer than getting down to the infrastructure stuff that matters. Like the power issues that exist in California, what we saw happen in Texas last year, like the infrastructure, the bridges, the power grid, the energy is what I see as being like the deeper stuff. So anyways, what I'd love is if, let me actually pull up the screen. Let me move us over here. And that way I can pull up your bio, which I think is very well written on the site. So let's just pull that up. And then if there's anything you want to kind of add, boom. So there's George. If you guys want to check out his bio, I'm just on the mad.energy about. You've got a long history in, politics and I guess international discussion and policy. So yeah, why don't you give us a quick rundown of kind of your story and now where you're at with Mad Energy, right?
Oh, wow. Thank you. I was born in Baltimore in 1958 to a sort of blue collar family. My dad had started building bridges when he got back from World War II, where he was a CB. So he took all the innovative things that he had done in getting equipment and people moved around during World War II in the South Pacific, brought it back and started innovating in building bridges throughout the East Coast. So that's how I grew up. I grew up with grease on my hands and working for my dad and things like that. And then I did well, amazingly. No one would have expected it, but I did well in college. And then I was able to get into law school, went to Georgetown Law School, and lo and behold, I did well there too. So when I got out, I went into a field of law that was natural to me as a guy that grew up building bridges, and I got into maritime law. And at that time, I moved down to New Orleans. We were representing all kinds of people in the energy field in the Gulf of Mexico, exploration and production. How do you get natural gas up out of the ground? All those types of things, oil, transportation. I was fortunate enough to represent Lloyd's of London, largest insurance consortium in large cases when I was young. And that sort of set the tone of my career, where I got into international law and international litigation concerning energy. It was almost always around energy. Then as I got older, I got into actually building energy infrastructure as an attorney. I got into doing LNG. I got into doing natural gas. I got into doing power plants. I got into doing all those types of things. I've had an interesting background where I've had one foot in constitutional law because I was in the Reagan administration and I was early in one of the young guys that was setting the tone for what we were trying to accomplish there. And that was a huge honor and a great learning experience that has impacted my life ever since. And I had the other foot in the international energy business. So that's kind of my background. When I got to a certain age, after Katrina hit New Orleans, I did a lot of work there, a lot of nonprofit work. And then ultimately, my wife said, you know what? I'm tired of getting hit by hurricanes. And we moved up to North Idaho, where we've been here for 12 years. And my wife, I will tell you, she's a brilliant woman because we have not been hit by one hurricane in North Idaho. So I will tell you, it worked. We've been here ever since, raised some children here. And I'll tell you, moving to like, how did MAD, is that a good topic to go to? Like how did
Yeah.
MAD come about?
Yeah, let's pivot into that because I've had a good amount of time now talking to Christian and Steve. And so, yeah, like outside of connecting with, you before we jumped on is I'd love to hear like your role, what director means and what your role in this means. And then maybe some of the things you're working on within it, because obviously with you having like the kind of political piece and international energy piece, I'm sure your role is pretty interesting within the company, but maybe let's dive into like, what is MAD? What are we trying to do with that? And your kind of role there, I think would be great.
So one way to answer MAD is to look at the future and how we get there. So my vision for the future is the ability to live wherever I want to without roads, without electrical cables coming to my house, being able to feed electrical energy into my home wherever I want to put it. The ultimate freedom, the future of quadricopters being called, autonomous quadricopters to come and get me, take me where I want to go, so I don't have to worry about the infrastructure of roads. I'm off the grid. I have total freedom and independence and self-reliance. So this is the future that I think we need to get to, that I think we have been held back from, that the technology exists to realize. So I'm approached by tech guys all the time because of my experience in helping companies get to market. So I had on my desk in 2017, 2018, 2019, a wide variety of really cool tech. And I wanted to deploy that as rapidly as we could to create the future that I just described, a clean energy future where we're not destroying the future of our kids and grandkids, but at the same time, we're allowing people to fulfill their entire abilities, their dreams that are their own dreams, and giving them the freedom and independence to do that. So that was the vision for MAD. How do we get there? Well, the one thing I knew is that given my background in the energy industry, I knew all the key guys. I knew the smartest folks. What was holding back the effort of getting all these really cool techs deployed was essentially that anytime you roll out a really cool new tech, you're going to gore someone's ox, right? Someone's going to be a loser because capitalism is creative destruction. The free market system, when one goes up, somebody else gets hurt. Usually it's the status quo. So if you're going to disrupt the status quo, there's a lot of people with a lot of money invested in the status quo that don't want to see that. So if I take really cool, innovative tech to Wall Street and I go, hey guys, let's roll out this really cool, innovative tech. And usually they'll say, well, you know what? We'll do that when we've bled the last dollar out of the last barrel of oil. So, it's not the way to do it. So during that period of time, as you well know, was when we had all the ICOs, we had people raising money directly online, and we had a couple of other things happen. We had the Jobs Act of 2016, which by 2018 had been turned into regulations that allowed us, for the very first time, the legal ability to go to the public, get the public involved, and allow them to fund the solution to the problems that the world is facing. That was really revolutionary. If the Kardashian family can become billionaires by doing what they're doing, I felt like if we were offering a vision of the future that was cleaner, healthier, more free, better, bringing the future to us faster, that was something that the public would support. And all we needed to do was take it to them and communicate it to them effectively. And that's when MAD was born. it was really important. While Walt Teeter and I were walking down a street in New York in November of 2019, and I had just gotten out of a conference where I was dealing with the SEC folks, Securities and Exchange Commission folks, where I had learned, I'd done a deep dive on all these new regs in a seminar. And I said to Walt, I said, man, we could take this revolutionary change in fundraising mechanisms and we could automate it over the internet, and we could create a massive clean energy movement of the people, and we could seize control of our lives back from all the cartels and all the massive global corporations, and people can be the solution to the problem. So I got all the best minds in the energy business together, and we wrote a blueprint of how we could take the techs we had, roll them out, offer them to the public, and get the public involved behind it. And that is MAD.
Nice. I like it. That's a hell of a sales pitch. You touched on a few things that like really gets me excited, and I'm sure a lot of people listening too, is you touched on wireless internet, wireless power. And see, for anyone who's well studied, which a lot of people in the crypto community, in the Hex community that are joining us that sounds awful familiar. That sounds like Nikola Tesla, not Tesla, Elon Musk technology, but Nikola Tesla technology. Because he was one of the ones working on that with the Warden Tower and some of his early experiments with energy.
In New Jersey. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a great example of why we went with the business model for MAD that we did. He had, first of all, I mean, Nikola, was he really a human? I mean, did he really come from this planet? I mean, how can a person be that smart, right?
I know. Over 500 patents at the time of his death. And who knows how many other.
We're still looking at his patents. We're still, digesting what you can get your hands on. A lot of them are locked up and you can't see what he did. A lot of his drawings, they seized and they've never come back out. But what a guy. I mean, my goodness gracious.
What a contribution.
Oh, incredible.
Because go ahead.
Well, there's a question on the screen by Joe Venuto that says, where's a line? This sounds like something Alon gets behind. And I'll just make one interesting comment about Alon and about Tesla, right? Tesla, before Tesla came along, all electrical current was direct current, which is what a battery generates, right?
Yeah.
And the trouble with that is that it had a limited transmission. It lost so much of its power as it went further and further afield from the generation station, What Tesla came up with is alternating current, which is what we have today, where it goes back and forth. And it was like a quantum leap from where they were at the time. And it revolutionized the distribution of electricity and made it effective. And it's the reason that we have what we have today, was that one invention by Nikola Tesla. And if there's one thing that defines what Tesla did, it was the creation of alternating current. Yet Elon Musk comes along with an electric vehicle that is powered by batteries and direct current. And he names it after Tesla. I just think it's ironic because Tesla is the guy that destroyed direct current. So I just think it's funny.
That is interesting. I actually didn't know that about the Tesla vehicles. It reminds me of wasn't there like a battle at some point? I don't know if this is just story or if this is actual truth, but there was a battle between Edison and Tesla to see who would win in the in the current wars. Let's call it the energy wars. And with Edison's model, you would have to have like a pole like every 5 or 10 feet, which would make the entire planet look retarded, and just all this wires and shit hanging everywhere to run his power grid. And he actually was
that was direct current.
That's interesting. So that's what's actually driving the Teslas. Is that all of them, or was that just like the early on? Is that still the case?
They're all direct current. Anytime you take a battery and you hook it up to an electric, it's just direct current. I just find it interesting that the guy that destroyed direct current is now the name brand for direct current vehicles.
Direct current.
Yeah. Because if Tesla was alive today, he would be looking at this and he would be going, what are they doing to me?
Or laughing.
I don't know what he would be doing, but he would be. Here's the guy that had the vision for creating wireless transmission of electricity globally, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and he built the Weidencliff Tower and the experiment that he did, and you know that vision and that invention is so revolutionary compared to taking a whole huge pack of batteries, putting it in the trunk of your car, having to charge it every single evening, and having a direct current battery drive a direct current electric motor.
Hmm.
And what you're really doing with that model, and Tesla would say this if he was alive, he would get it. What you're doing is you're just transferring the pollution from one spot to another. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
taking you're taking the pollution and you're putting it to a massive power plant, and you're feeding it through to your garage. So when you pull your car in at night, you can charge it.
Hmm.
But while there's no pollution coming out of the tailpipe of that thing, all the pollution to charge those batteries every single evening on a massive scale, once we get millions and millions of electric vehicles, all we're doing is taking pollution from one point and moving it to another. It's not a
Yeah.
net gain. It's not a net
It's
gain with
not.
our current power structure. So there's a
Yeah.
better way to do it. And those are the kinds of things that we at MAD talk about. You know, we look, we're practical guys. We've been in the energy business. I've been in the energy business since 1983, you know, and we look at these things that are going on and we go, wow, isn't it incredible that they're approaching it this way when there's so much better? It could be done so much better. And that's what MAD is all about: practical, better solutions that solve these problems and allowing the people to come on board to get it done.
Yeah, and I like that because I think that if we're talking about something that actually has a chance of making it, because that's like going to be the first question that people think of is like, okay, all this sounds good, but is this actually going to make it, or is this going to go missing? And I remember I tell this story often. There was this guy who had figured out a way to recycle salt water and turn it into drinking water. And he was like really low key and he blew up on the internet. And then he was going to like roll out and do like this tour or something in the US. And he was going to like sell these things like out of the back of his truck or something because he just wanted to give it back to people. And he was going to sell it super cheap. And he was all geared up, ready to go. And like the day of the launch, he just disappeared and nobody ever heard from him again. And so that's usually what you're used to hearing is these people just disappearing. You know, there's electric vehicles in the early 1900s. Tesla was working on one, the real
Yep.
Tesla. And
Yep.
so it's like, you know, all of that technology, and there's a couple other people, I don't remember names, but there's a couple other people that came up during, you know, then till now that also had electric vehicle concepts and things like that. And it just seems like those people, those concepts, those sketches, those schematics all go missing, and the whole idea just ends up getting snowballed before it can get up off the ground. So if you can get enough people behind it, like this, and what you know, again, nobody's tried what you guys are doing, so I think it's a better shot than we already know the other way. We already know like how it's gone, trying to these other directions, and it doesn't work. So I think there's a good shot that this could work because it's just wildly different than what everyone else has tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, you know, one thing is that there's strength in numbers. And one of the reasons that we like having support globally, we've got people in MAD that have invested in MAD from all over the world right now. We've got up on
Yeah.
our thing a map of everywhere, you know, that we have people that have joined the movement. So our community is growing all the time. And as the community grows larger and larger and larger, it's harder to strike down such a community, you know? It's like look at China trying to get rid of cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, you may as well just pass a law that says, you know, gravity or friction doesn't exist anymore, you know? It'd be great. You know, if legislative solutions like that would work, we would just outlaw friction. It would be incredible, you know? But so they don't. And trying to stamp out a movement of people has never worked. It's not going
Yeah.
to work. And that's why we're going to the people. But we have another thing that has happened that I'll tell you about, that if the question is, why will MAD succeed where others have failed? And if you want to see a story of people, you know, with great ideas that have been seized or great ideas that have been covered up, just watch, you know, Foster Gamble's movies Thrive. You know,
Hmm.
they're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, massively game-changing inventions are
Yeah.
squashed. and the people disappear, just as you said.
Yeah.
But so we're aware of that. We know all those things. We came into this with our eyes wide open, but we had a very fortunate thing happen early on in MAD's existence. Once we stood it up, and once we had the website working, and once we had people joining the community, we were asked to bid on a project that's rolling out for a number of advanced data centers across the world. So
Okay.
I'll tell you a story. I was one time during the ICO era, I was on a panel with one of the founders of Apple, I was there for legal questions. He was there for business questions, and he was asked, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm coming and I'm starting my company, what is the single best thing that you can tell me? What is the key to success? And he said one word. He said customers. It was brilliant. You got to have customers. So early in our existence at MAD, we were asked to bid on these projects to provide clean energy to a series of data centers that are very well funded, that are being stood up, that use 40% electricity, 98% less water than existing data centers. But their mission statement was that they would also use the cleanest energy available to drive them. Now there's 16 of these being rolled out globally. MAD went up against other companies that were also invited by the board of directors to bid on these projects. And because we just had a better mousetrap, we offered them a much more comprehensive solution. We were chosen with a unanimous vote of the directors that we would be the energy partner. So what we start with is a customer. We can deploy with an existing customer under an existing contract that is a very large, well-funded contract, our technology. So that removes a major element of market risk. If we want to deploy a really cool, innovative tech, we've got a partner that wants us to do that for them because they want the cleanest, greenest tech that we can give them.
Okay.
That's a dream come true for a new company. Now we want it. We did a lot of work. We invested a lot of time and effort to give them the best possible solution to the problem, but we want it and we have it. And that is an exciting thing for us. So when people say, why do you think MAD will make it? I go back to that panel and think of the guy that started Apple, one of the guys that started Apple, and his answer, customers. We got a built-in customer, man.
Yeah.
Cool
there's a great question that just came in, so to kind of summarize for everyone listening in, is the data centers, is that, we'll get into like if that's the only thing MAD is working on, but that seems like that's your guys' first big project, is taking data centers and making them more, I guess, carbon friendly, getting alternate energy sources to actually like run these, or what's the actual like tech behind it? If you at a 40,000 foot view, I don't need details,
Yeah,
like spec sheets and whatnot.
Right. So the cool thing about the data centers is that they use an entirely different cooling system. So Joe Venuto is like a pretty smart guy, and he's saying that's your electricity hog is cooling. So these are actually a different method. It is we're subject to a confidentiality agreement, so I don't think that I can say exactly what that method is. But what happens in your average data center, and like Facebook rolled out a data center not that long ago in Albuquerque, and it is air cooled, right? So they have to cool the air around the CPU units as it pulls heat out. They have massive chillers, massive air conditioning units. Those things are hogs for electricity, but they're also hogs for water. So imagine if you didn't cool them with air and you cooled them through some other methodology. That's what this new system of CPU cooling does. And so you don't have to take all that energy and all that water to lower the temperature of the ambient system that those CPUs are sitting in. And that is much more effective, much more energy friendly. 40% less energy is used. Now that's what they came to us with. They said, this is our tech. This is what we're using. And their question was, how do we power it in the cleanest way possible? And that was the solution that we brought to the table. Other people came in and they said, well, we'll power it with solar.
Okay.
Well, my question when I first met with the president of that company was, are you planning on powering them at night? Kind of an obvious question, you know?
Yeah, it should
And
be.
he said, well, we'll use battery backup. And I said, well, how big is the thing going to be? And he said, well, it's going to be a gigawatt. Now, a gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts, right?
That's a lot.
I
That's a
have built
lot,
power
dude.
plants. I've built power plants. I've been involved on the legal side. I say I built them. I was the lawyer. I wasn't out there building them, but you know, of power plants that were 450 megawatts, and they were massive power plants that four nations transformed their whole development by having cleaner gas-fired power plants of 450 megawatts. So 450 megawatts is massive.
That's
Game
huge,
changer.
man. That would be, how many batteries would that be? That would be fields of batteries. I don't even think you could do that.
That's what I told him. I did the calculation. I told him, well, if you want a gigawatt and you're thinking that at night you're going to be battery powered, that means that you have to have all of the globe's battery production of almost every nature for like 2 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what people don't think about with battery backup, you got to think about this. Okay, I've got a data center using 1,000 megawatts of power. That's measured by the hour.
Yeah.
So that's 1,000. If you want to go from sundown to sunup, let's say it's 12-hour period that you got to cover. Well, then you have to have 12 sets of batteries, each powering 1,000 megawatts.
That'd be huge. That'd be huge. To give everyone listening a reference, is the Tesla power packs for your house, I think, provide 10 kilowatt hours each. So like to give you an example, and those are pretty big, right? I think those are like 3 foot wide by like maybe 4 or 5 foot high. And those only provide 10 kilowatt hours each. Kilowatt hours.
So we're talking megawatts.
Each. Yeah. Yes. So that is a huge difference, just to give people a comparison, right? In case you're not following.
If you get a generator at your home and you want to run everything, you want to run your, like if you're on a well and you want to be,
wow.
You know, usually you're going to go for a 25 kilowatt generator, 15 to 25 kilowatt to run your house. Yeah. We're talking 1,000 megawatts.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that'd be tough, and that'd be a waste. That'd be a waste.
Well, think of all the rare earth metals, or I mean, if you want to do those with lithium, think of all the rare earth metals that you've got to get. Who controls all the rare earth metals in the world, right? China. Do we really?
And lithium's already short. You know, we're already short on lithium. And you're right. China runs all of it. And then they just got the sweet deal with Afghanistan. I want to take a step back. Somebody mentioned something earlier that they said you guys are clueless, which is a pretty big insult considering the guy we're talking to has been in energy for over 30 years. But he said, electric vehicles aren't just transferring pollution. So first off, let's summarize something. The creation of the Tesla vehicle itself is blasphemy towards a carbon footprint, a carbon-friendly solution, because the amount of pollution that's required to create those dog shit batteries that sit in there is astronomically high. It's probably worse than oil. I don't have numbers on that, but it's bad, and it's still a large amount. So it's like I guess the illusion that exists right now is that I'm good for this planet and I'm being a good person if I go buy a Tesla. That is very backwards, very, very backwards. And so, you're not like escaping that carbon footprint by getting a Tesla. It's not carbon free. It's not even, I don't even think it's a better solution. I'd love to see somebody who would actually like to take that on and go statistically and prove like what's required and how much petroleum and oil is required to create all the parts for a regular vehicle and all the parts for a Tesla, because I don't think they would be that different. And the batteries are definitely not some like great godsend solution, as we're clearly proving right now, because the kilowatt hour that you can get out of these power packs, these house packs that exist right now, is not enough to actually run your house. It's a supporting and supplementing thing right now, which is why it's so hard for it to be rolled out in most cities, is you have to be approved to get Tesla in your house. And it takes forever for them to come out and set it up. I know people have been waiting 6-8 months to get this set up. And after all that's done, and you got, all these solar panels on your house, and you got these huge battery packs in your garage, it only supplements what you're already bringing in from the power company. So let's just slow down with that, right? Let's get some facts that don't bother.
To be clear, if we had carbon-free power generation, which we don't, 60% of all the electricity in the world is created by coal. To this day, that's a current figure, right? Coal, the use of coal, in many countries, not the United States, but in many countries, the use of coal is increasing. So coal is in high demand right now.
It is.
Germany, because they shut down all their nuclear plants after Fukushima, Germany is using lignite, which is basically like burning dirt. It's the nastiest stuff you can burn to make electricity, and the pollution being generated there is huge. So to be clear, I've been called worse things than clueless, so I'm not too upset about that. But
don't worry about it. It's the internet. The internet always wins.
Yeah. But I can understand if you heard just the statement electric vehicles are bad. No, electric vehicles are part of the solution. The problem is, Jay, most people don't think like you think. You're thinking of the entire value chain proposition from, okay, how do I get the lithium? Where do I get the lithium? What goes into getting the lithium? What goes into the cobalt and the other rare earth metals, right? You may see the poor shoeless people with pickaxes in, Africa, children digging in mines to get cobalt, right? This is going into these batteries. Is this what we want? Now, what else is, how do the first world nations or how does China go about it? Well, they dig up all these rare earth metals with massive diesel powered trucks, right? The amount of particulates that goes into the air in a mine from the use of diesel fuel, which is thousands and thousands of gallons of diesel fuel, is very massive, and it's very dirty. Now, if you want to close your eyes and you just want to look at, while I take my car from my garage to work, am I polluting the same way that a gasoline engine does out of its tailpipe during that one trip? If that's all you want to look at, then feel good. But if you want to look at the entire value chain and you want to assign a carbon index to that trip that is taking into account all the carbon that was put into the air from getting each component of it to it, which is what we call a carbon index, that's the more logical way to look at it. So when rare earth metals are going to be shipped across in a tanker from wherever they were mined, should you take into account the carbon footprint created by that tanker, which is probably spewing out massive carbon because it's using something known as bunker fuel, which is dirty, nasty stuff that's left over after you refine all the good stuff out of a barrel of oil. That's what they use. It's incredibly polluting. So I guess the carbon index is important, but most people don't do it.
Yeah. I guess my bigger point was, is that really the best we have to offer? Is coal and nuclear and, batteries, is that really the pinnacle? Is that going to bring us into this new era? I mean, I guess it could, but why? I think we could do better than that. I think there's better solutions, different solutions out there. I mean, there's without going too deep, there's quite a bit of evidence that, a power grid system existed throughout the world. Right, we can look at the pyramids of Giza and what their true purpose was, and we're just now learning or rediscovering that their purpose was multifaceted, and many different generations and cultures came along and kind of reclaimed what those things were and are and operated as. But one of the original uses was that it was a power plant. And so if we're now looking at that, which clearly there was some advanced technology occurring there, and we look at that as a means to get energy and whatever they were doing there, and they were using, it looks like, water and some other natural mechanisms to kind of make that operate. And we're looking at, okay, what's going to happen to these batteries? Because when they go bad and you can't charge them anymore, which they're very finicky, they're very fickle. And once you can't charge them anymore, you have to then throw them away. Where are we going to throw these away? Isn't that worse than the garbage and the pollution we're already doing? And secondly, like the solar panels, a lot of those you can't service, you have to just throw away. The windmills cost more money to take down than they do to put up. So it's like the technology that we're running now, I don't think is the best. So that's why I criticize it, is because I know we can do better. So regardless, even if it did win against gas, I don't care, because I still think that that is a primitive technology in comparison to what we could do. And there's this constant like throttling, it seems like, throughout history of technology. It's like they have to make sure we fill these buckets, like these 10, 20-year buckets of this is what refrigerators are, this is what TVs are, this is what technology on phones are. And even though we're moving faster now, it doesn't matter. It's still being throttled in some sort of way, because if this stuff already existed, you know, over 100 years ago, then why can't we have it now? And if we had that now, where would that allow us to go? Like if all this technology was just unleashed on us, right? I actually think this would be a good thing, because at first it would be overwhelmed. We wouldn't really know what to do with it. We'd probably be pretty ignorant with it. But what would start to happen is we'd start to create from that, and we would be able to advance and quantum leap faster, better, right? And so that's what I look at. So I just want to clarify like my opinion on this and my stance, right? Before we move on.
Right. And because we know the answer to the question you just posed, what is better, and we're working on that question, that's why when we look at these texts, we go, hey man, you know, that's fine. We're not going to tell anybody what to do, but we believe that there are much better solutions. So
Yeah,
just imagine this. Imagine a next generation geothermal power plant, which is closed loop, goes down to the hot internal section of the earth. It's closed loop water cycling, very, very hot, under pressure, comes up to the surface. There's an exchange for another loop of water that is turned into steam and powers steam-powered turbines to turn generators to create entirely carbon-free electricity. That
yes.
technology is here. We
I
have
like
that tech. We're working with that tech. So can we create geothermal energy large scale without wasting water subterraneously like the old type of geothermal did? We can, because we now have a closed loop system beneath the surface of the earth. Can we
Interesting.
take that? Now, here's the problem with geothermal. Geothermal is a great answer. Here's the deal. God did not put the hot rocks where he put the people or the transmission lines. So how do you get it there? Oh my goodness. We have wireless transmission of electricity. I've seen it. We are working with it on a daily basis. We can roll that wireless transmission, safe, global, wireless delivery of commercial grade power. We can make that happen in the next 5 to 7 years. We're on that. We are on that right now. So then imagine that you didn't have to have massive lithium battery packs in your electric vehicle. Do I like electric vehicles? I love electric vehicles. Can we do better? Yes, we have to, because we have to power them with carbon-free produced energy, and we're not. When I say you're just transferring the pollution, it's because those cars are being powered by coal-fired power plants. At the end of the day, they're being powered by coal-fired power plants. No, we want to power them with geothermal carbon-free power plants with Tesla towers transmitting the electricity to a receiver in your vehicle. Now you have a rangeless electric vehicle.
I like the sound of that.
That's the future. But just imagine, why should we keep that if we have abundant, low cost? Because guess what? Guess what geothermal power plants don't need? Fuel. Guess what is the most expensive component in producing power? Fuel. Geothermal is a wonderful answer because you're not buying fuel. Can we get this electricity to the people cheaper, more abundantly, giving them greater freedom and lower electricity costs? We can.
Yeah.
When we transmit it wirelessly, what don't we need? We don't need aluminum cables stringing the earth, right? So what does that mean? We don't need aluminum mines. We don't need smelters. We're not, there's another area of pollution that's being put into the world. This is a far better vision of the future, which we have the technology to achieve right now. And that's what we're doing. That's what MAD is all about. That vision of the future. We're
Which
working
I
on
think,
other technology that it's difficult for us to talk about until we roll it out for the reasons that you said. How much tech has been squashed, right?
yeah,
We talk about the towers because the company that we work with actually built a 200-foot tower, and people know about it. It's on the internet. You can go look at it. This is out there. So we talk about that a lot, and we love it. We love that, and we're working closely with the inventors of that technology, and we will be a key component. MAD will be a key component of rolling that out. And people who are members of the MAD community will be the solution to that problem, and they will benefit from it financially. That's our model.
yeah,
So
I like
yeah,
that a
there's a
lot.
much better way. There's a much better way, and that's what we do. That's what we're all about.
How did we start this live stream? We started this live stream by saying that there's deeper issues and there are infrastructure issues. So I feel like for as much as I love the solutions that are happening now, it's too slow and it's a band-aid to a much bigger problem. We're getting lost for the tree instead of recognizing the forest and the magnitude of what infrastructure means. So if we get lost and wrapped up in Tesla crap for the next 20 years, all it does is prolongs the bigger issue. And the bigger thing underneath this, which is that we need a long-term plan. Somebody needs to be looking at this with a 100-year plan, a 200-year plan, like what China does. They play a very long game, right? And so we're not doing that currently. And I don't think Tesla solves that. And part of his solution is to run away to Mars. And I don't agree with that. I don't like that idea either. I mean, we have to go to a completely different planet and attempt to terraform it. What's wrong with this one? Let's just do it better on this one. I just don't understand it.
Which we totally can. I mean, that's what we're doing. You're saying, what we did is we got all the biggest brains in the energy business together. I got them together. I had this vision of how the tech that I had been asked to help by inventors who came to me for my help, how that would all go together to create a vision of the future that was creating a decentralization of power distribution, created greater freedom for individuals, created independence, allowing people to essentially live off the grid for the first time ever, and do it effectively and do it without using carbon-based fuels so that we're not adding to the greenhouse gases that are going in. Now, you're just not going to be able to long-term produce electricity by using coal. The people of the world are not going to allow this to happen long term. But the question is that going to happen through a command and control system that, Davos, right?
Yeah, I know them very well. Yeah, the Great Reset.
Does Klaus Schwab say, there shall be no use of coal? Well, or so that if you do use coal, we will lock you up, or what are the solutions that a command and control system can give? Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to the force of the government who can put a gun to your head, because you're giving them that ability if you allow them to say, we command this sector of the world. Energy is such an important sector that we cannot allow the guys at Davos to have it under their control. So what we're doing at MAD is we're dependent upon the creative destruction of making a better answer to the problem. And we're rolling that answer out. And guess what? People are responding to the better vision and the better tech. And there will be no need to use coal, because it would be like people saying today, I need a buggy whip. Nobody needs a buggy whip because we don't use buggies anymore to transport us around, and we don't have to whip horses. So that has gone by the wayside. Once they see, and once we roll out this next generation through the energy transition that is underway, we roll out a better, cleaner, more effective, cheaper way to do it. That is going to just take over.
Yeah.
You don't see flip phones because touchscreen was a better solution to the problem, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And you're not going to see coal plants because MAD's techniques and MAD's technology is far superior to what's existing out there today. and we're going to roll it out as fast as we possibly can, and then it's going to catch on, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I like the crowdsourcing component to what you guys are doing, and it took me like 10 minutes, and I was like, I was locked in. I was like, man, this is something I want to like keep featuring and talking about on the channel. To touch on coal for a second, in case you guys aren't paying attention, is what happened recently in China. Let's talk about this, because China is a major coal producer, but China is a very big place, and 94% of the population lives on the eastern half, or the eastern part. It's basically separated by, it's almost inhospitable. So you can't really live there, even though I think there's like 4 or 6 million people that live there. It's very rough terrain. It's like deserts. It can go from negative to super hot very, very quickly. So most of the population is on the other side. And they're just now starting to tap into on the other side of this mountain range to get the precious minerals and whatnot from there. But just understand that because everyone's here, you know, China's running into a massive amount of problems with coal. You can check this in YouTube or Google if you want to, but they had coal issues recently, and they were running rolling blackouts in entire cities. So imagine, they call them, I think, provinces there. So similar to other Asian countries like Japan, etc., it's a district, it's a province, whatever you want to call it. But a large amount of city was no lights, no electricity for certain amounts of time, to where work schedules had to get rearranged and work during the day, and work off of limited amounts of power, skeleton crews, etc., because they were running out of coal and they didn't want to admit it. Because what they tried to do is play politics with Australia because of the whole wine debacle that had happened a couple months before that, and they tried to cut off their imports of coal from Australia. They don't produce enough coal for themselves. That was clear and apparent. What was laughable about the whole thing is they tried to spin it like this had some positive effect on carbon footprint, and they were trying to do it to be green and whatever. They weren't. They were just literally running out of coal. So they were like shutting down entire cities and just said, oh, well, to the people, because they didn't have enough to actually fuel it. Which now that solution, the situation has changed. They've obviously got enough coal. They've started to import from Australia and other places. But it's like, it's laughable to think that there's going to be enough coal to go around if we're already having issues with it now. You know what I mean? We're only going to get bigger as a populace, as a planet. Like the population's only going to grow from here. So that's not a long-term solution. So I just wanted to cover that, make sure people understood the gravity of that, right? Okay.
So they have embarked on, you know, more coal, right? More use of coal because it's cheap. But you know, when you transport coal across the ocean, once again, you've got the carbon footprint of the tanker, that you know, and the use of bunker fuel, which is not only just greenhouse gases, but mercury and vanadium and strontium into the atmosphere, very bad things. So, you know, what is different about what we visualize as the future is that we take advantage of something called the Zinc wave. Have you heard of this?
No, fill me in.
Okay. So back at the last turn of the century, not 2000, but the one before that, there were two theories about how to generate waves, radio waves, things of that nature. One was Hertzian, and the Hertzian technique produces them all out 360 degrees in every single direction, up, down, side, every single way, right?
Okay.
And that's what Marconi used when he first, you know, transmitted radio. And we're actually operating, you and me right now, we're talking over Hertzian. But Zinnik, Jonathan Zinnik, a German fellow, a mathematician, he came up with a mathematical model that showed that there's actually an electromagnetic grid that encompasses the Earth. So if the Earth is right here, if I had the globe in my hands and then I popped it out, the electromagnetic grid is like the pop out around the Earth. So it's up there, it surrounds the entire surface of the Earth. And people have seen it over time. It's why I believe it has to do with why our compasses work, you know, magnetic north and all those types of things. But it's there. Now, what Zinnik proposed was that if you could launch a wave, instead of like Hertz, where it goes in every single direction, losing energy all over the place, if you could launch a wave so it was captured inside of that existing electromagnetic sort of ceiling around the Earth, that you could focus it and you could channel it. The reason that we're able to work with Hertzian technology the way we are at such great distances is because it's channeled through cables. It's captured and it's tunneled. But that means that you have to do it with wires and the use of coaxial cable and other types of cables, right? If you take advantage of this existing electromagnetic field that surrounds the Earth and you launch a wave within it, then it will stay within that wave and it will actually go all the way around the Earth. And so that is the basis of how can we transmit, how can we deliver electricity globally, wirelessly? The answer is we do it on the Zinc wave. And the tower, the 200-foot long tall tower that has been built and has been in operation, actually launches at such a wave and actually has transmitted power for hundreds of miles, actually on a test basis, not a commercial basis, but on a test basis, it's transmitted it globally. So
Interesting.
Yeah, no, we can do it. I've seen it.
That's fascinating. So is that Tesla's original technology that you guys have somehow come across, or is that different?
It is different because it's based on Jonathan Zinnick's work, but it's very similar. I think Tesla would have figured this out if JP Morgan hadn't bankrupted him, right?
Yeah, right before they got started. Yeah.
Well, JP Morgan, bankrolled him, and then JP Morgan figured out that wireless technology would undermine his copper investments.
Yeah.
So he went,
rug pulled
got to put that guy out, right?
Yeah,
so that's why we're not dealing with Wall Street, right? So if you look at it, if you look at the way things are going, we can launch this electricity on the Zinc wave, which is a very low, long wave, and we can make it go all the way around the Earth and carry electricity of commercial grade globally, safely, wirelessly.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
First time I went down and saw this happen, my head exploded. And I went, this is the answer. So now what do you need? What do you need in an electric vehicle? You might need a backup battery, but you might just need a little backup battery, right? We can use a 1/100th of the rare earth metals to create a lightweight backup battery in an electric car that has a receiver built into the vehicle and is pulling down electricity on a constant basis, real time, as it drives.
Wow. So that's like an actual solution. That's a real long-term solution.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing.
That's incredible.
That's what we're doing.
That's absolutely incredible.
Cool. And it's here, and I've seen it work. And
that'd be mind-blowing. That'd be mind-blowing to see in person. That would flip me out.
Well, I'll invite you down, man.
I like it. I will take that invitation gladly.
Yeah. I'll show it to you. Come on over, and we'll head down to Texas, and I'll show it to you. Beautiful. It is really cool, and it is absolutely revolutionary. Because just think, no use for diesel fuel in locomotives anymore, right?
Yeah.
You see all the
changes a
lot. Locomotives.
Yeah, that changes a lot.
You know those mining trucks that I was telling you about that are putting so many particulates into the air as they mine rare earth metals, as they mine copper. Imagine if those are all powered by electricity delivered on the Zinc wave real time as needed to a receiver on a big mining vehicle. There's no diesel fuel used. Imagine if we can operate that on the basis of carbon-free geothermal energy through our revolutionary closed loop system that doesn't waste water, that doesn't hurt the interior of the earth by sort of almost like fracking as the steam gets hot, right? That's the old tech. Our new geothermal tech is so far advanced beyond that. So carbon-free, renewable production of electricity on a massive scale, because the United States and other regions of the earth are blessed with geothermal energy. We can make use of it for the first time because now we can transmit it globally. Imagine parts of Africa that have never been able to have clean water or have never been able to process properly sewage, right?
Yeah.
The health things, are not refrigerate food. There's hundreds of millions of people that have no electricity, and there's 1.4 billion people, it's estimated, they're underserviced and don't have
Yeah.
enough electricity. The human toll that happens because of that is massive.
Yeah, that's
This
incredible.
technology changes everything. I can
Everything.
deliver electricity safely, carbon free, and bring it to towns and villages that right now are burning, they're deneutering their forests simply to cook their food.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
changes everything for the
Yeah.
better.
Everything. Like
That's
fundamentally everything that we've known, that we've used, how we've done things, it
yep.
would literally shake up the very fabric of how we live our lives, which is, I like, call me crazy, but I think that's the kind of change that we're looking for right now. I thought that was the kind of change that we needed for this problem, that this issue that we face, right? Because it's
Right.
such a big issue.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I thought this is what we wanted, right?
Well, that is. I mean, I think it is, and that's why we're so excited about it. That's why I'm pumped up every morning when I go to work. And, I think about these things all the time. And
Yeah.
just imagine, when you're sitting in a traffic jam somewhere, imagine autonomous quadricopters. Well, they work, right?
Yeah.
In Dubai, they already have autonomous quadricopters. What is the problem with them? They run for about 20 minutes with one person in them because the cargo that they're carrying is massive battery packs.
Yeah.
So imagine being able to feed those quadricopters real time wireless electricity through a transceiver, a receiver built into the quadricopter. You can then go in that quadricopter in an unlimited range.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the future, guys. This is why the kids around here, we have such wonderful young people that work with us here. I don't know how they got that. I don't know how they even showed up. It's like they just showed up one day.
One day they just showed up. Yeah.
I just love them,
Yeah.
And they call me George Jetson, right? That's my nickname, George Jetson.
That's funny.
Because
you kind of look, because you look like them, yeah.
Yeah, guys, we need to short the tire industry, right? Just imagine the investments you can make, right? If you know that the tire industry is going down because we're going to quadricopters, short that stock, baby, make some money.
Yeah, there's so much there to unpack. We could unpack that over the next 2 to 3 hours.
That's the vision, man.
Easily. And that's how I think you guys have been able to attract, myself, Kinetics, everyone else, is that like you start to hear this, and it's very obvious to see that this is the big thing that we're looking for. This is it's fallen on our doorstep. However you guys have been able to coordinate with these people is like some sort of universal magic happening, that all this stuff is lined up at this time where we need it now. And it's getting like, just the situation is getting worse and worse and worse. And while politicians want to get up and posture and post and talk about a bunch of nonsense and shit that's not real, that we can't do now, then we've got this other thread happening simultaneously, which is actual solutions that everyone can actually get involved in. You don't have to be an accredited investor. So let me show this for a second. Is you can go and start with as little as, I think, like $500 to get involved in that.
Man.
$500.
$500.
The amazing thing is, if you've been in crypto since 2017, you've done far dumber shit with your money, with more than 500, and gotten less results, gotten worse results, gotten rug pulled, whatever, fill in the blank reason. And so it's like, usually you can't get involved in something like this. And that's why I got so excited, is because once I figured out and heard, I think I heard two pieces. I heard the data center piece and what you guys were doing there, and saving 40% plus on energy. And then I got a picture of the tower, the wireless tower, and then I got some other stuff, and that was it. And I was like, man, I'm sold. Like, let's talk. Let's get involved in this. Because it was that simple for me.
You touched on what I think is the coolest aspect of this model. So what happens normally is a company will start, you can only go to, you used to only be able to go to people who were already millionaires to invest in your company. So the way the law was before the Jobs Act of 2016 is that the rich got all the best deals. Why? Because the law said that you could only go to them. And then what else did the law say? The law said you couldn't solicit. You couldn't solicit. How stupid is that? I've got a revolutionary invention that I need to roll out to the world as fast as I can because it saves lives, it reduces, it creates more freedom, all this fantastic stuff, right? And you're an inventor busting at the seams. And then you go and say, okay, I need money. I need backers. I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to ask them to come and invest in my company. Oh, that's solicitation. You can't solicit. So how do you do it? Oh, you got to go to the golf club. You got to go to the golf club. Who's at the golf club? Those are people that are already millionaires and billionaires. They're already the rich fat cats. So then you've got to sidle up to the bar and you've got to wait for them to ask, what do you do? Oh, I'm an inventor with a great idea. Now that guy has asked you the question and then you can talk to him. That was the old model. In 2016 with the Jobs Act, that changed and we could solicit. We could go on and I could do what I'm doing today. I could talk about my company. I could talk about MAD's vision. I could talk about the MAD community. I could build a community. That could never happen before. And that's why we have such a stratification in our country and in the world. Why are the rich? Look at Russia. You got oligarchs and you got people that are worrying about how to put gasoline into their cars. How are they going to pay for their kids to get to school? Do not put shoes on these kids, right? The same thing in the United States, the same thing in South and Central America. You have extraordinarily wealthy people. What we're doing is we're bringing this solution to the normal average Joes that I grew up with in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
The typical guys. And the reason that we're tokenizing our offering, which means that we're giving ownership interests in MAD by issuing a token to our investors' wallets, right? So we're tokenizing the equity. The reason that we did that model is because it reduces transaction costs. My entire goal philosophically was to bring normal people into being the solution to the biggest problem that the world faces.
Yeah.
And make them wealthy having done so.
Because which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
If we cannot revitalize the middle class of the world, then we're sunk. We're going to the rich fat cats in Davos controlling everything. Yeah. We stand at a crossroads today. One way, if we let it go and we let the Davos set be the solution to the energy problem, then all of the people that I'm talking to and all the people that I care about will have no freedom, and they will be dependent upon that extraordinarily wealthy Davos set for the rest of our lives.
Once again, and we already know their plan. Their plan is it's on their promo video on the World Economic Forum. So you can just go there, and on the homepage, it starts off with the year is 2030. You own nothing, and you'll love it. I'm sorry, but I won't love that. I want nothing to do with that.
Yep.
I want nothing to do with that. So that's their plan. We already know. They've already told you. So, and that's the opposite direction that we need to be moving in, because it's this system that apparently has continued to exist, which is where there's a select group of people, families, bloodlines, whatever, people who just stole history, whatever you want to say, and they seem to be the ones that benefit the most from the IPOs, from the fundraising, from all of that. And then they also are the ones that benefit from everything that's happening at the country by country basis, right? And that's got to stop, because it's not necessary. We don't need that anymore, that model and that system. And so that just keeps them rich and in power, and everyone else, like, it'll just create that further divide if we continue down this road. And it'll just be poor and rich and no in between.
Ultimately, that will lead to bloodshed, because ultimately you're going to get somebody like, somebody who's going to say no, somebody who's going to assemble all the people, and then there will be this class warfare. But we don't need that. We're at a crossroads right now, and the MAD vision is that we give the solution to the problem to the people, and the virtual world is what is allowing us to do this.
Yeah.
Give the solution to the people. And when we give the solution to the people, our token is ownership in MAD. Our limited partners, our MAD community, people that come in, they own it. They own the company. Guess what? I don't own the company. I don't own the company. I own a general partner that owns 1% of MAD. 1% of MAD and runs MAD. We have 99% to the world. How many ICOs did you ever see where founders kept 60% and they gave out 40%, right?
Yeah.
No. That's not us, baby. That's not us.
Yeah, or had 30% for marketing budgets, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. So this is an interesting question. So he asks, is it a DAO? I think you could abstractly consider it one indirectly, even though it's not structured that way. I don't think you guys call it that, but just because the structuring of it is, it's definitely a more like fair model across the boards, which I think is in general what a DAO strives to be, is like to remove power from like a centralized entity or small group, like which is normally a board of directors, and tries to kind of spread that out, the power of the money, the management of the money, etc. And so I think we could probably consider it pretty close to that, without it actually being structured that way legally or called that, right? Am I correct in that assumption?
You are correct, Jay. So
yeah,
decentralized autonomous organization, right? DAO. We are decentralized in the aspect that the people who own it via blockchain, own it via token, which token is a smart contract representing ownership in the company, right?
Yeah.
That's tokenized equity. The reason that we went with tokenized equity is there's a couple reasons. We think it has benefits in a secondary market down the road, which we hope people benefit from tremendously. Is what we want everybody in the MAD community to become sufficiently wealthy that they can then turn their attention from the mundane problems of putting gasoline in the Volkswagen to looking at being part of the solution to problems of the world, and being able to have money is just fuel, right? Money is just fuel to make things happen. The vast portion of our population in the world is all tied up in just figuring out how to survive.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
a travesty. That is a travesty. If we can bring them into being the solution to the problem, and we can spread the wealth throughout the middle class of the entire world, and the MAD community benefits from this massive transition that is taking place, that allows them to think and to start like so many crypto people. I've met so many crypto people that were really military guys, and they weren't, now they're independently wealthy and they're saying, hey, I want to solve the problem. That's what we want to create more of. Where is wealth in the world made? How did Bezos become so freaking wealthy? Because he was at the tip of the spear of the transition to internet commerce. A major transition from one paradigm to another. How did Carnegie become so wealthy? He was at the tip of the steel revolution, right? How did Gates become so wealthy? Because he's a lying, cheating sack of dirt. That's how he did it. But no.
Good summary. Good summary.
Yeah, he was at He was at the tip of the home computing revolution, right? So these massive paradigm shifts is when people make money. We are at a paradigm shift. MAD's model is we want the people to benefit from this paradigm shift. We don't want Wall Street to benefit. We don't want guys at Goldman Sachs getting richer. We don't want an IPO where the underwriters of the IPO take all the wealth and the people who buy the stock get the scraps left under the table. That is not our model. We want the people to come on board and benefit from this. And we've put together the brain trust to make that happen. And then we're offering it as a vehicle to the public to come on board and benefit from it in a wide variety of ways. You benefit from it because your kids aren't getting polluted. Your grandkids will have a clean world to live in, clean water. We're benefiting by it because you're going to make money when MAD makes money. And MAD is designed to make money and distribute that money to the community. who has
Yeah.
made it all happen.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, man. Like this could be like the more we can talk about this. So let's put this into perspective, right? Like you've all seen viral campaigns happen on crowdfunding platforms, right? We've all seen
Yeah.
that happen where there was more backers than you could have ever imagined. And this guy got 5-10x what he needed to make this happen. We're essentially at what it sounds like is that same kind of situation again, that same kind of crossroads where we can get involved in this crowdfunding project that is already off the ground and has a lot of very, very ambitious ideas.
It has a built-in customer.
Yeah, already.
Imagine that.
I like it. I like it. I love it.
I mean, we're not just dependent on that one data center, but we're so joyful that my God, most companies they have an idea, then they got to go out and market it, which costs money and creates delay. We already have the customer. We can deploy as soon as we can build. We're deploying now. We're deploying.
And we've talked about quite a bit. Like I've had this up the whole time. We've talked about the wireless. We've talked about the geothermal. We've talked about how that's going to affect energy wastes, carbon, etc. I would love to. I think I'm going to save this though. I'd love to jump into anything we could talk about with the batteries and the magnetic motors, but I think I'll save that because I've been watching the comments and literally, I think you just got set up for 2 interviews, 2 more. Crypto Heartbeat and Wales, I think, are going to interview you. So I think I'll save a little bit on the bone for them. But yeah, so let's just give a quick one more pitch, I guess. If you guys want to get involved in this, you would just come in here, click on Invest Now, and it'll give you the different routes, right? So retail, accredited, or institutional. And you can get going with as little as $500, which again, just to put it into perspective, like you don't have to get involved in any of this. I don't care. I'm sure George doesn't care. We'd love you to, just because like I'm getting, the more I keep talking to everybody involved in this project, the more passionate I'm getting about it because I see what it represents is just think of it like, try and put it in perspective for yourself. How long have you been in crypto? And have you lost more money than this? Have you lost this amount of money? Have you made stupid choices? Have you sent to the wrong address? Did you have a failed gas transaction on ETH and it was more than this? Like you've probably done, chances are high, you've probably done dumber stuff with your money. And this is something that could represent, if we can all get behind it, we make this real. Like the level and the degree at which we get behind this, I feel like makes it bigger and bigger. Just like we talked about with those crowdfunding projects that got so many backers. It's because the campaign itself went viral. This is something that deserves to go viral. And it's up to us to make that happen, right? So you guys watching, sharing this, obviously George, now it looks like you got booked up on some more interviews and conversation platforms to be able to spread this around so that more people can get involved. But it's essentially on us. And it's up to us to make this thing happen, right? And we show up for you guys, and then you go out and you guys make the magic happen with the technology, right?
That's the way is it in a nutshell, man. Really well said, Jay. Really well said. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's do this. Any last minute, we've had quite a few great questions. Any last minute questions from you guys in the chat that are still sticking around? I totally appreciate everyone who's jumped in, tuned in, just shared this, came in and commented, liked. You guys know the YouTube algorithm. It's a game. It's a little dance that we got to play to where, every single like and comment, it's so silly, but those things matter a lot with what we're doing here. So any last minute questions from those of you in the chat still? Otherwise, I know, George, you're still recovering from, we can't call it its name, but we'll just call it the flu. So I don't want to keep it too long because I know that you're still recovering. I am too. Like I don't know if you noticed, I've been coughing throughout. I've just got this little part of this uncontrollable cough from it. But
yeah.
Okay.
I generally, don't have such a raspy voice, but I am recovering. But I feel fantastic today, and so it's been great to spend time with you, Jay.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. So, I did want to touch on this. So we've been talking about Foster Gamble, which is the Procter & Gamble family that own 80 individual billion-dollar companies. I think it's more than that now, but when I read, where's that book? I think it's called, P&G 99. Maybe it's more than 80 companies then, but I don't know. They own a ton of companies that are billion-dollar companies. And you got to understand something is Foster Gamble had the opportunity to just go and follow in daddy's footsteps and just take the money and be whatever their family is, right? But he decided not to do that. and he decided to go against that grain. And so the stuff that he's been involved in, where he's decided to put his energy and financial power, has been in things like this, in ways that he sees will benefit all of us, not just a few. So for whatever reason, he decided to go a different route than his family, which I think is amazing. And so we talked about him. He's involved to a degree with MAD, right? But he was also in Thrive. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Matt.
Okay.
Foster is a big partner with us here, and man, he's part of the solution. I mean, he is so great. He's incredible. His vision, and Kim, his wife, Kimberly. I mean, what a couple. I mean, they're just incredible. Foster came out, spent a few days, and he's working with us on a variety of things that we can't talk about yet.
Yeah, that's great.
Because just go look at Thrive and you'll see what happens to those things. But let me just, we think as humans that we know much more about the way the world works than we do. And we confine our thoughts into little boxes. And once we understand that there is actually a universal force in the world, you mentioned the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
These things exist and they're real. There's all kinds of things that science, where we are to this day, simply doesn't explain. Mm-hmm. They want to think, scientists love to think, humans like to think that we know it all. But the truth is that we don't. And we have to keep questioning, and we have to keep striving. And I love Thrive. I love that Foster and Kimberly came up with that name, Thrive. Because what do we want? What does MAD want for its community? The things that I was expressing: wealth, the ability to feed their family, the ability to focus on improving the world. He summed it up in one word: thrive. It's incredible. It's incredible. And the symbiotic nature of what Thrive is all about, and the Thrive movement is all about, what MAD.
Oh, did we just lose him?
So that was that. I love the guy.
Yep. Nice. I love it. Yeah, it froze for a second. I wasn't sure if that was me or if that was just on my end or the stream itself. Okay. Yeah. What was I going to say? So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there. What I'd like, guys, is just get involved somehow, right? Like a lot of people, you're in different situations, right? Maybe you don't think you can get involved, or from a financial standpoint or whatnot. There's a million different ways you can get involved. You can go here, you can subscribe, you can share the page on your social media accounts. You can, get involved somehow. If you think you can add to, the MAD project in some sort of way, reach out to them. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. If you've got some sort of skill that they might need to help them spread this message, then do it. That's how we make this stuff real. It's like we share it, we get involved, we give them money, and then we just make sure that more people, like, we share this, and it starts to multiply this effort. And I think that's how, again, you make something like this more real, is that it's up to us to make it go viral. And there's a lot of people on this live stream from Hex, and that's the same thing that you guys all did with Hex from the very beginning. You made it go viral with your grassroots efforts. It's the same thing here. And so they didn't have to open up this opportunity to retail at all, but they did, because they recognized the power in this. That also makes it, from a longevity model, I think it makes it harder for them to take down. Let's call it them to take down, is because from an SEC, from a CFTC compliance standpoint, is the more people that are involved, it makes it harder for them to try and step in and shut something down, because they know now that they got to answer to 10,000, 30,000, 100,000, a million people, right? Yep. So could you imagine if we got a million people behind this? That's not even that much. What this could do, like the speed at which this could roll out, because I know a lot of people, there's hesitation still. And one of the hesitations that we all tend to have is, can this roll out quicker than they could stop it? And that's going to boil down to, I assume, the more people that get involved in this. Now we've got 100,000, a million people sitting here that are all involved, so they can't possibly do it because there's that angle. But then they've got the funding piece that they need to roll this out faster. So then it becomes this thing to where it happens so quick, and it is like a light switch to where it's now overnight unstoppable. I think that's how you get to that place. Is both of those pieces have to kind of fall in a semi-fast fashion. And if we can get this to go viral, then that's how that occurs. That's how we can do that, right?
That's it, man. The more fuel we have in our gas tank, the faster and longer we can drive the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Money
So
and
I
love
want
are
to see
cool.
this happen. I don't know how far this is going to go, how successful it's going to be. I don't really care. I want to be involved in this. I want to put my stamp on this and help you guys in any way that I possibly can, because again, I recognize that, right? So again, you just head on over to mad.energy/invest if you want to get involved. They even have crypto options. You can go from your bank account as well. 5-step process, pretty simple, or just share it around on the internet and get involved. So yeah, I think we'll cut it there. Thank you so much for jumping on with me, George. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to chat with you over the last hour and a half. So thank you so much.
Wow, that was an hour and a half. It seemed like about 5 minutes, Jay.
It did.
Hey,
Hey,
man, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Everybody in the office here has been saying such great things about you, and now I see why. It's been a real honor. Been a real honor.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in. Again, comment below after this renders. Hit the like button, share this around to friends, family, whatever. Like, you never know who's going to want to get involved in something like this, and it's up to us to spread the word on this. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you in the next show.